Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thank you for joining us today at our Center Court session. We're calling this the MBA Road Ahead. We have program directors from 4 terrific schools with great MBA programs. We're going to give you a deep dive into what you'll learn in the MBA experience at these 4 schools, what the cut is between the core subjects and the electives, whether there are concentrations or specializations, immersion trips, how rigorous can you expect the program to be, what the hallmarks of the program, how innovative they are, and of course, kind of what makes them special and differentiated in the marketplace, because not all MBAs are created equal. To talk about all these things, and I'm so excited, we have 4 terrific people here. Let me introduce them all to you. Mary Carr is the Senior Vice Provost and Dean of the Jack Welch Management Institute. Those of you who know me know that I've had a long association with Jack. I collaborated with him and helped him write his memoir called Straight from the Gut, and considered him a personal friend. We have from the University of South Carolina, the Moore School, known for its international curriculum, Abhi Gupta, the academic director of the MBA and MSBA programs. He's also an associate professor of marketing and a Moore Research Fellow. And from Notre Dame's Mendoza School, we have Joe Sweeney, the academic director of the MBA programs. He's an assistant teaching professor of management and organization. And from Carnegie Mellon University's Tepper School of Business, we have Tad Brinkerhoff, the assistant dean of Tepper's master's programs. Welcome, everybody. Okay, right off the bat, tell me what makes your MBA program different from others. And I know sometimes differentiation is hard, because it may have to do with geography, it may have to do with culture. It could be the school is especially strong in a given discipline. But I'll just, you tell me, Mary, what makes the Jack Welch Management Institute MBA unique?
Thanks, John, and thanks for having us here today. We always say there are a few things that make us unique that compared to other MBA programs. The first and foremost is many schools study Jack Welch, but ours, of course, was built by Jack Welch, right? So it was built with a CEO. It's very much focused on a CEO mindset. All of the courses here have that C-suite perspective, whether it's the CHRO or the Chief Accounting Officer or the Chief Financial Officer. So that's one differentiator. The second I would say is we are very student-centric. And when I speak about being student-centric, what I mean is our students are surveyed quite a bit, and we talk with them about NPS. We get their feedback on how well we're doing, and then we take their feedback and incorporate that into product changes and faculty changes, and do all that we can to continuously improve the product. And the third is we have a learn today, apply tomorrow philosophy. So we are a program that is built for working adults. Most 95% of our students are currently employed, and they're looking to get ahead in business. And so we don't want you to wait till the degree is done, but rather we want to make sure that you're getting that ROI on every assignment and that you're applying it in the workplace in the same week that you're working on it. And I'd say those are the 3 things. If I had to pick 4th, I'd say our faculty as well, because we have faculty who have been there and done that and act as basically consultative coaches for our students while working to give them advice on how to get ahead.
Great. Abhi, what about the Moore School?
So we are most well known for our #1 ranking in international business. And we attract a whole host of people who are interested in international business for 2 reasons. Either you could think at some stage in your career, you're going to work abroad. And coming here gives you access to a cohort and some experiences that could help you navigate that process. That's one set of people who are excited about this place, apply to us, come here and move on. The second set of folks are just folks who say, I want to have some kind of program that not only teaches me what a typical MBA would do, but also deals with the ability to deal with change, people different to who I am. Even if I never go abroad and I work in the US, there may be that may come up in my career. Again, this program gives you the opportunity to do that. Those are the two populations who I think are attracted by our program, what we offer. And I think the international business immersion and other components lets you pursue whichever of these two paths. And a bunch of our alums have pursued these two paths. Some have gone on, found a job here, and then moved on and run operations in different countries, come back to headquarters. Other folks have worked in the US throughout, but they say this gives us an ability to manage change in different types of people. Let me pause, pass it back to John.
That's great. Now, obviously, yours is a 2-year program. And I wonder how much time people spend outside the country, given its international slant.
So right now, there are two ways to think of how much time you spend outside the country. We have a compulsory 8-week abroad that everyone has to do, else you're not graduating unless there's a health issue, but that's compulsory. In addition, people take advantage of other opportunities to go abroad, which could be one week short trips, maybe during a spring break, etc. So the compulsory aspect is an 8-week, and there we actually put some structure on it. And then there are other options as well. Back to John.
That's great. Okay, Joe, the Mendoza College of Business MBA, what makes it different?
Yeah, thanks, John. So I might echo back something that you said at the top. As I think about differentiation in the space, it's really about what are the combination of things that a school does. And there's a lot of schools that do a lot of similar things in the space, but finding the right combination and the right fit, I think, is a really, really critical part as you're going through and exploring different MBA programs. So for us here at Mendoza, there's a number of things that stand out to me. I think first and foremost, I think about impact. So for my own teaching, for example, I teach a course called Business on the Front Lines, and it's thinking about how you apply business skills to real world challenges. 2 weeks ago, I was in Ghana with a group of students on the ground working on a live project with a Fortune 500 company. And so it gives a really incredible opportunity to get hands-on in a really impactful way. That's something that we've tried to build out throughout the curriculum, creating a lot of different opportunities for students to engage in experiential learning, to be able to do direct application from those core business principles onto real world problems in a meaningful way. A couple of other things that are really important here from a community standpoint, being a part of a strong community on campus and being part of a really powerful network is something that's a really great advantage in an MBA program. At Notre Dame, we're intentionally small from a program size, and that's something that we think really helps to drive the community here on campus. And then one of the advantages that you get with a larger parent institution like the University of Notre Dame is you get the full impact of the Notre Dame alumni network around the world. One of the things I love about Notre Dame is that it doesn't matter what you studied while you were here. As soon as you're a Notre Dame alumnus or alumna, you're just part of the community, and everybody wants to help everybody out. So even though you might be coming here to get an MBA, you can absolutely network with folks who went to law school or were mechanical engineers or studied political science. And so that makes for a really, really powerful network out in the world. And I think that helps to create a great foundation moving forward.
Yeah, that's great. Now, Tad, I see behind you is something called the Intelligent Future. That is a new catchphrase adopted by the Tepper School kind of more recently. What does it mean, and how does it play into your differentiation?
Great question. Yeah, that's a theme that our dean, Isabelle Bajou, has been promoting for the last couple of years, and I think it really embodies what is unique about the Tepper School. We are embedded in Carnegie Mellon University, which is heavily tech, analytics, quantitatively focused, but our dean has been quick to point out that we want to be data informed but human driven. So she doesn't want to leave out the human aspect of what business is about. Although analytics is important, we like to say that management science was invented at Carnegie Mellon and Tepper, that we don't want to ignore the human element of what we do in business and what we do here at the Tepper School. So I think that's one thing that sets us apart. Carnegie Mellon has a unique history. It was a combination of the Carnegie Institute and the Mellon Institute, which has given us a kind of a culture of decentralization and independence. And that's reflected in our curriculum. We encourage our students to take many classes outside of the business school. So walk across the street and take a class in AI or computer science, one of our top ranked programs, is strongly encouraged. We want them to have a very strong interdisciplinary approach to education. So that's one thing I really do appreciate about what makes us different. I think the other thing is we're in the city of Pittsburgh, which is a city that's had to reinvent itself. 100 years ago, it was the center of the world in terms of production and operations. And then there was the crash in the 70s and 80s. And so as a city, we've really had to reinvent ourselves. Now it's technology and healthcare seems to be the two areas of focus. And I think that is kind of the theme of what we try and do here at Carnegie Mellon in terms of innovation, reinvention, and using technology to really push the future forward. So that's what I would say makes us different at Tepper.
Great. You have a great new building in the center of Carnegie Mellon's campus, which also puts you at the center of all that's happening at the university. Now, Tad, I wonder if you might single out for us an innovation or two that you think you've pioneered in your MBA program.
Yeah, so I think being able to take classes across campus has been helpful. We're very interdisciplinary, so we just launched an AI concentration. And so that is not just done at the Tepper School. You also have to take classes in the machine learning department, as well as the AI and computer science department. So I think that's been incredibly helpful. We've also, in terms of international innovations, we are doing more capstones abroad. And so we've launched capstones in Brazil and in South Korea. I just had a meeting today with our South Korean students and some professors about the capstone in that country. We've also launched some partnerships with schools in France. Our dean, having her connection in Europe, has been innovative. We're also launching an MSM, which is probably not super unique, but for our program, we're just moving into that pre-experience space where we've traditionally just done MBA. So I think we're seeing a shift in not only our curriculum dealing with technology, but also integrating different student populations.
Yeah. So when will the MIM come out?
So it'll start this fall, actually.
Oh, yeah.
We'll look at our first cohort, fall of 24.
That's great. Okay. Joe, what's innovative about the MBA program at Notre Dame?
Yeah, so a couple things I'll highlight here. One of the things that we've created and developed over the last 2 years is a Mod Away program. So kind of similar to what some of the other programs are doing, thinking about opportunities to get students away from campus, but also really being intentional about how to get them connected to industry. So we've launched and pioneered a 7-week study program that's based in Silicon Valley. So we've got students that go and live and study in a cohort-based program. We're centered in Santa Clara at this point, and we use a combination of our regular faculty members and a couple of really outstanding industry professionals to guide some of the courses there. We've been able to build some wraparound infrastructure too to be able to engage that alumni presence within the Valley and be able to tap into folks that are in industry that are actively making investments in the technology space as they go through. So it's a really great opportunity for the students to really get a firsthand look and engage in a different way. I had the chance to sit in on a couple courses in November when I was out visiting the students, and in the span of the 3 days that I was there, we had guest speakers from Google, Meta, and Apple that all just kind of popped into class for 45 minutes or an hour. It's a great luxury that you have when you're out, actually in the thick of things. So being able to get students into the heart of industry, I think is a really unique opportunity for us and something that we've been proud to push forward in the last couple of years.
How many students take part in that? How many students actually go to Silicon Valley?
We've had between 15 and 25 in a given year so far. We'd love to have more students join and participate in the program moving forward, though.
Great. Abby, at the Moore School, what are you doing that you think is really innovative these days?
So I'm really excited about some of the conversations and coursework we're building out that's going to empower folks to manage change across multiple dimensions. Be it technology, that's one area that clearly we're going to see change. But we are going to see change in terms of look at the way our politics is moving. You're seeing, greater schisms. And how do business leaders navigate those? And there have been stumbles we've seen from some business leaders on this front. And so
True.
understanding all of these and saying, you're in the world of business, how do you talk about these? How do you put this in context of you also have shareholder commitments? What's the right balance? Having those kind of discussions, be it in technology that's moving forward, pluses and minuses, the way our politics is moving, the way other changes are going to come. I think that's something I'm excited about, and I think that is something that will be increasingly important the days ahead. And so we're building out a variety of things on that front across various dimensions, but they need to be able to talk like business leaders, not really technology people or political scientists, but as business leaders navigating the space. Back to John.
Yeah, that's such an all-present kind of challenge these days, given how polarized the political world has become, and how difficult it is to have conversations if you have a difference of opinion, and learning how to do that well and dealing with conflict is a real skill, I think, particularly in the world of business. Mary, what do you think is innovative at Jack Welch? I know your like student satisfaction stuff is like really unique, for one thing, but what else?
Thank you for that. Yes, I think it is pretty unique. Yes, and agree with you that, when we think about managing change management is actually a required course for students now. So in order to get through the program, we focus a lot on change because Jack would say, change before you have to. We're 100% online. And so that gives us the luxury of doing a few things that I think are innovative. We're able to adapt pretty quickly from a technology standpoint. And currently, we do things like programmatic audits on materials to make sure that we don't have materials that are not more than 5 years old unless they've been approved by us, like winning, right? So, and then you want to make sure you're also looking at materials from a DEI perspective in all of our classes to make sure we're being inclusive, representing global perspectives. And like right now, our professors are having conversations about how do we integrate AI. We're exploring, do we build a concentration? But the short-term initiatives will be, how can you use AI in business? So financial modeling is a great example. AI is being used to do financial modeling. Maybe we need to rethink how we are teaching finance to our managers and show them how to use the tools of AI so that they can then go apply it and be more efficient at work. And those are the things that we're really focused on as we try to weave in better technology, tools like Wall Street Journal, things like that. But then how do we help our students and equip them in the best way possible so they can make a difference in the world?
Yeah. You mentioned a bunch of things that I'm going to segue into here, because one thing we know about business is it's dynamic, it's ever changing. The pace of change is quicker than it's ever been, driven a lot by technology. But some of the big themes today are sustainability, ESG. You mentioned diversity and inclusion, artificial intelligence and machine learning, obviously, are important. I wonder if you just pick one of these topics, and Mary, you kind of played out the AI card, and the fact that your faculty is really looking deeply into this. I wonder if there's one of these things, whether maybe it's sustainability, which you didn't mention. How is that incorporated into the program?
Yeah, with sustainability, we've started to incorporate it in a few different ways, in both, like economics is a good example where we've started to weave it into weeks throughout the program. So the way that we're able to do it, because you take 12 courses online, is we can have programmatic themes where I can put a week in economics, I can put a week in finance, and a week in strategy on that topic. And so by the time that you're done, we can kind of map back where you've talked about that subject online.
Right.
And so as And as we think about our programmatic outcomes and changes, sustainability is one that we've had to weave in over the past couple of years. Still some work to do there for sure, but economics is the one that's front and center in my mind right now, where our faculty have gone in and really tried to address that as students learn, about what it means in the world today, and especially within the job market as well, because there's opportunities in that market for our students.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Abby, we know you've got global nailed, right? I mean, you're the international global school, have been from the very beginning. What about these other big trends like AI, like sustainability, diversity and inclusion? Where are you on these?
I'm going to pick AI because that's something that also
Great.
feeds into my academic hat. Look, it's clearly something that's very important, both predictive AI and generative AI. So predictive AI has been here a while. It's driving a variety of, impactful initiatives in business. And our folks will have the opportunity to get that. There'll be integration with, our Master of Science in Business Analytics at some stage. They need to understand where predictive AI works and also understand there are pitfalls, that there may be, issues with, but they need to navigate both sides of this, the pros and the cons. D2 with generative AI, which is newer. And so, right now folks are getting the handle on, like, it's not just Chat GPT, it could be a variety of GPTs. Some could be custom, some could be on a more, global LLM. They need to first understand what this is, understand this is coming down the pipe, get some hands-on experience in actually using it, understanding what it's good at, really good at speed, understanding what it's not good at, maybe not that great at accuracy and some other factors.
Mhm.
If they can get a handle on not just where it is today, but how to continuously learn over time, I think that's important.
Yeah.
Like, because today it's Chat GPT, which is used a lot. Tomorrow it could be something else. We don't know the standard. And so if they can get a handle on, I know what this technology is, I have some idea where it's going, and tomorrow when something slightly different comes up and becomes a standard, I can pivot and use that. I think that's helpful. And again, it's that thing we try to say that when we talk about something like AI and technology, understand where it is today, pros and cons, but can you keep learning over time so that you're always at the pace? I would hate to be a senior person who says, I'm not a technology person, I need to get someone. That's not where we're heading for. We need to have someone who says, I'm technology fluent. And now let's see where we can go. I'm going to pause. Back to John.
Yeah, really true. Joe, how is Notre Dame handling some of these topics?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from just to echo off the last point a little bit, AI is going to be one of the great disruptors in the next 20 years. And so being able to be innovative and versatile as a business person and adapt to it is going to be a critical skill moving forward. I think part of the drive on that is still understanding what the core drivers and fundamentals for business are, and how do you create value for your customers? How do you capture some of that value for yourself? What does risk and uncertainty look like? So all of those things are going to be really important. I want to touch on one of the other ones that you mentioned, though, John, that we haven't talked about, and that's the changing landscape of the workplace, and thinking more intentionally and more holistically related to diversity and inclusion programming. And I think there's a lot of ways that comes into play in an MBA program. One of the great opportunities that we have in the MBA programs is to bring in a diverse set of students from all across the world, from across the United States, different backgrounds, different experiences, different educational parameters before they come into the program. And so one of the great advantages that you're going to be able to have in pursuing a degree like this is you get to make a lot of friends and get to meet a lot of people from really different contexts around the world. And that's a really exciting opportunity. One of the things that we try to think about is ways to be able to create platforms for students to be able to showcase and celebrate where they come from, their unique experiences, whether it's something that's identity-based, something that's professionally based, something that's affinity-based, being able to share and celebrate those different perspectives with each other, learn from each other, and kind of use that as a great baseline moving forward. One of the things that a couple of my colleagues have pioneered here in the last couple of years is a DE&I case competition as well. And so they've got a specific question that's brought to us by an industry partner, and thinking about how business can be a positive force in the space, and then the students get the chance to put their heads together and compete for some real money on the back end. And so it's been a fun way for the students to engage, but also to be able to bring in some of those additional considerations as they apply it to business.
Great. Tad, you already mentioned that Tepper is having a concentration in artificial intelligence. I wonder if you might touch on some of these other topics as well.
Yeah, one thing that's been kind of fun to observe, we have the Schwartz Center for Entrepreneurship here in our building. It serves not just the business school, but it's the entire university. And while it's here in our building, it's been interesting. Like the topic of state sustainability has been so important for more and more of our incoming students. And from my generation, it's really a differentiator compared to Gen Z because they're so focused on this. Very important for them. And so it's been fun as I go to different events at the Schwartz Center to see maybe a PhD in computer science and an MBA from Tepper and someone from public policy come together and really focus on a sustainability issue in a startup mode. So it gives me great hope for the future. We see this Gen Z coming together with a multidisciplinary approach to attack a problem that's becoming more and more critical every day. Here in Pittsburgh, we with the steel mills of years ago, there was a lot of pollution, and now the air's clean and the rivers are clean, and so I think we've seen that process evolve. Shell is opening a carbon capture facility just outside of town, and so students have kind of rallied behind that and been involved with that project as well. So I think we're seeing kind of from the ground up. A concentration or a focus on sustainability. And what we're trying to do is create the infrastructure to allow students to organically help be part of the solution to this global problem through using technology from the CMU lens, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's terrific that when the new building came up, the University Entrepreneurship Center was housed in the business school, therefore inviting students from all other disciplines and departments and colleges to come in and work with MBAs and make stuff happen. I've been in that lab and I've seen some of the stuff that's come out of it, and it's just bewildering. It's really amazing. So Tad, obviously every MBA program has two elements to it, two basic or fundamental elements. And those are the core courses, which teach you the business fundamentals, and then the electives. And I wonder if you could break down a little bit, the required curriculum versus the elective curriculum. How much of each do your students get? And what kind of choices do they have among the portfolio of electives that you have in the catalog?
Yeah, so we're roughly 50-50 in our core versus elective. Obviously, like most programs, the students start out heavy core. We break our semester into two, which a lot of schools do. We call them mini semesters. And so like the first mini and most of the second mini are core classes. And then as they get into the first year, they're allowed to take more electives. And like I said earlier, we do have a bevy of electives here at Tepper, but there is no restriction on how many electives you could take outside of Tepper as well. Now, all of those won't count towards graduation, but a large percentage of them will. We have students take music, and we have a great drama school. So we have a acting for business class. We have a leadership through music. And so we really try and encourage our students to broaden their scope and take advantage of what is at CMU. So no restriction on outside courses that they can take depending on their background and their interests. So, and it seems to make students quite happy. They can really design their own curriculum from a standpoint based on what's available at the university. So it gives them a lot of flexibility.
Yeah. And you had mentioned your interdisciplinary AI concentration. I wonder what other concentrations you have.
We have tracks. We have about 12 tracks and probably 20 different concentrations. So the tracks require a capstone. You have to be admitted into the track. And then the concentrations, it's a pretty long list. Most of them do require courses from outside Tepper as well. So that's another, we want you to get out and explore different areas and take different classes. So we've got a really decentralized system that allows us to do that quite collaboratively. We don't have a lot of restrictions from the university, so it allows for that freedom.
And all the schools are on the same academic calendar?
Most of them, well, the entire university is. Most of the schools are on the same mini system.
That's great. Yeah. So what's your most popular track and what's your most popular concentration?
I would say technology and business is probably the most popular, as you would imagine. About half of our class are engineers. And so that technology track is probably number one. The consulting track would probably be number two.
Great. Yeah, that's really helpful. So Joe, how does your MBA program break down at Notre Dame between the electives and the core?
Yeah, so similar to what Tad was talking about, we also split the semester, so you're taking classes for about 7 weeks at a time. We call them modules or mods, but a similar approach. We're a little bit different from a course structure. We're about a third of the credits that you need to graduate fall into your core classes. So your first semester is all going to be core, and then as soon as you get into the second semester, it ends up being pretty elective heavy moving forward at that point. We offer 5 different majors and 13 minors. The majors are really meant to align to the core areas where we see our students going into industry, and those are around consulting, finance, technology, and marketing. So 3 of those 5 are STEM designated, so you get that as part of the degree program as well. And then the idea with the minors is there's kind of a couple different groups. There's a set of things that kind of relate to a major. So say you're majoring in strategy, but you have an interest in finance, you can do a minor in finance as well. We also have a set of things that are more topical or more interest-based. So things like international business, things like social impact. You may not necessarily do that as a direct career, but there's a lot of interesting coursework that's there and is accessible from that standpoint as well. So you've got a high degree of flexibility as you go through. And then the other thing I always encourage students to do is just take things that are interesting to you. It doesn't necessarily have to fit into a track or a concentration. It's a really unique opportunity to learn and to grow. And so don't be afraid to learn about something that you don't know about, or take something because it sounds interesting. Whether that's directly applicable to what you're going into from a career standpoint, or something, a little more outside of the box that you've always just been curious about.
And I'm thinking a major usually requires 3 electives. Is that right?
Major is 6 electives, and then the minors are 4 electives. And within the majors, certain majors will have some courses that are required, and then free choice out of a bucket of the other electives. And then so each of those are structured a little bit differently. And then same thing with the minors. Some of the minors will have a required course or 2 to make sure you're getting some of the core content there.
Yeah, terrific. Abby, at Moore, what's the structure of the MBA program between core and electives?
So it's very similar to what you heard with some changes. So it's about a third core and the balance are electives. We've also got 7-week, mini semesters. The one difference is our core has a fair bit of international business embedded in the core. Everybody gets that as well. And some of that we think just sets you up to deal with, not just think about where the world is today, but where it could be tomorrow. So comparative economic systems, how things are going to evolve, what happens if, governments drift towards the right or the left, how to think about these issues. So our core has some of these additional classes built in it. So it's a bit bigger than normal core. We have sort of 4 broad functional specs, marketing, finance, supply chain, and consulting. Supply chain has come along really well. Our ranking has risen fairly sharply in supply chain. So that I'll make a plug for that. But the other thing people do is overlay that with something else. It could be a business analytics overlay, could be a sustainability overlay. And so that's how folks chart their own path. But I would say finance and supply chain, those are probably the 2 biggest. And then, of course, people love the analytics sort of overlay. Sustainability, I think, is something that's going to grow in the days ahead. I'm going to pause. Back to John.
Yeah, terrific. That's great. Mary, yours is it can be completed in as little as 18 months, or you can extend it out.
Mhm.
What's the core elective breakdown?
Sure. So there are no electives at the Jack Welch Management Institute. It's very much a prescriptive pathway, and it was intentional by design by Jack. And the thought process behind that is it's 12 courses. We have 4 concentrations. Our concentrations are healthcare, human resources, operational excellence, and leadership. And all of your courses are picked out and in a prescriptive pathway because they build off of one another. I think, John, you know, Jack was an engineer. And so he
Oh, yeah.
really wanted the beginning of the experience to be focused on all about you as a student. So you're going to start with leadership and communications and executive presence and working on all the things that matter in terms of how to lead up, sideways, and down and handle conflict management and really try to build your confidence right away before we then transition into marketing and economics and finance and accounting. And then at the end, it starts to synthesize. We have strategy and we have entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, depending on which one fits your role. And we end it sort of, if you were to think of the summit of the mountain as the capstone, where you act as the CEO and you're working with a board. So it's very much designed that you're learning about all the C-suites, and then you end in the C-suite is the hope as the student. And there's no electives, but students, you know, do like that because they know there's everything is connected. What you're doing in strategy, you would have seen some of that in a course early on, and we said, you know, our goal is to pull it all together for you in the end so you can look back and see how far you've come.
That's great. Let me ask you this question. What most surprises your students about your MBA program? Mary, what do you think it is?
I think they're most surprised at how applicable it is. You know, I talk to students on the capstone every term, and the number one thing they say is, I can't believe how I'll be doing an assignment and then something will happen at work. And I'm able to say, I did that in my MBA, right? Like they love that they get that ROI right then and there and they're applying it. And they love, you know, when I ask them, I always ask them for advice for new students coming in. And they're always telling them, hey, don't be scared to talk to your professor. Reach out more. I think they're really surprised at how much time and attention our faculty will spend with them to help them do what they need to do when they have issues at work or to work with them on a problem. You know, our students are adult learners. It's hard sometimes to ask for help. And they're most surprised at how amazing and attentive our faculty are. And it's one of the reasons that our faculty do well every year, because they can share, this is what happened to me. I can help you with this, try writing it that way. And so I would say 1, the applicability, and 2, just the faculty time and attention.
That's great. Tad, what do you think Tepper MBAs are most surprised by?
I'd say the amount of coaching they get. So when we have an Accelerate Leadership Center that's been around for more than 10 years, and I think it was really developed to help balance, you know, the focus on quantitative analysis with more the leadership skills. So they're assigned a leadership coach. They do a series of assessments in leadership and other growth areas. And then they're also assigned a career coach. And these are all professional industry folks that have worked in banking or operations or whatever. And so they're assigned that coach. And so we really work with them closely on their career development as well as their leadership journey. And then they're also assigned a peer coach. So all the second year MBAs, all the first year MBAs are assigned a peer coach. So they also get that perspective of a second year, giving them advice, guiding them in their specific areas, but from a peer perspective. And so it's really, really personal in the way we do it. And we really focus on the individual journey of the student through a coaching model that we're pretty proud of.
Yeah, that's great. Abby, the big surprise at Moore for an MBA.
So the stories I keep hearing, and this is largely from alums when they've had time to look back and see, you know, what was interesting for them, is when they go abroad for this 8 week. We put some structure, but we don't put that much. and they come back pretty resilient. And that's something they always remember. They're very fond stories, and there's some little competition. Oh, I'm in the France track. I'm definitely better than the Germany track. Not sure that's true, but that battle persists. But little things like I showed up at this country and my colleague broke his leg on day one. Now we have to go to the hospital. Now, who has the credit card? Because we need a credit card. How am I going to deal with this? Those are the stories they remember. That brings them closer together. They say, we can take on anything because we've
Yes.
gone through this weird thing and something happened and we dealt with it. We feel a lot more confident. Those are the stories I hear more and more. It's less about the nuts and bolts of what they've learned, but like they all say, I became more resilient. I can deal with many things today that I felt before the program would have faced me. I'm going to pause here. Back to John.
Great. Joe, the big surprise at Notre Dame for your MBA students. What is it?
Yeah, I think again, what I tend to hear most is around how quickly the growth happens, both in terms of how the class grows together and, even just a couple days when they arrive on campus, we come to the end of our leadership launch session and people talk about how they feel like they've known some of these folks for years. So you get growth together as a cohort very quickly. And then, folks coming from very different backgrounds, not having any business exposure and just how quickly that mindset starts to take hold and shift and really starts to mold them into business people, to go from being a helicopter pilot or somebody that bakes cupcakes to talking about ROI in the span of, 4, 5, 6 weeks. It's a pretty big shift for a lot of folks. And, we see a lot of people making that big career switch. And so, in a pretty short amount of time, they've got that new mindset and they've got a great set of friends to be able to share it with.
Fantastic. It's often said the MBA is a transformative experience, and indeed it is. And this is part of the reason why that happens to people. Obviously, many people get an MBA to transition to something new, to do a career switch of some kind. And the MBA is incredibly effective at helping you reinvent yourself. I want to thank Abby. I want to thank Mary, Joe, and Tad for a terrific session. If you want to learn more about their programs, the best way to do it is just go to the website. Go to the website. All of these schools have fantastic websites. It's all the nitty-gritty details you'll need to know. And I will also say, it really helps if you can take the time and visit. In the case of Moore, Notre Dame Mendoza, Carnegie Mellon Tepper, there's a physical campus. You should go, try to spend a day, be a fly on the wall of a class, meet some students and talk to them, visit the admissions office. If you're interested in the particular concentration, have a special passion, maybe even set up a quick meeting over coffee with a faculty member who's a real expert in that field. That's the way you really get to know a school well and get to know if the fit is right for you. So Mary, Abby, Joe, and Tad, thank you so much for joining us today. And for all of you out there, I hope we enlightened this world for you and expanded your horizons and made you realize really how great an MBA experience can be. Thanks for watching. This is John Byrne at Poets and Quants.